Ihan and Alena happy in the wild. Mount Zayta rises majestically and mysteriously in the heart of a little-known region, covered by a dense and rich forest. The forest surrounding the valley of Mount Zayta is a place of wild and mysterious beauty. Located more than 200 kilometers from the nearest village, this vast expanse of virgin nature has not been explored by humans, remaining untouched and safe from the influences of modern civilization. The forest in the valley of Mount Zayta is dense and rich, with an impressive biodiversity. At such a distance from any human settlement, the forest is a true closed ecosystem, where nature reigns supreme. Wild trails are rare and difficult to identify, hidden under a thick carpet of leaves and vegetation. This mountain is more than a simple geographical relief. It is a sanctuary of nature, a place of tranquility and peace, where time seems to stand still. In a hidden cave, located deep in the heart of the mountain, lives a man named Ihan, who has chosen to retreat away from the hustle and bustle of the modern world. The forest in the valley of Mount Zayta is a place of great natural beauty and diversity, a true sanctuary of nature that changes radically depending on the season. In a unique cycle, summer and winter last for 6 months each, offering contrasting and fascinating landscapes. During the summer, which stretches for a period of 6 months, the forest in the valley of Mount Zayta is a veritable green paradise. The vegetation is dense and lush, with tall trees and rich foliage forming a shady canopy above the ground. Wild flowers litter the forest floor, adding a burst of color. Flower species such as wild lilies, daisies, and bluebells are found in abundance. The predominant trees are oaks, beeches, and firs, which provide shade and coolness even on the hottest summer days. Vines and climbing plants twine around the tree trunks, and ferns and mosses cover the ground, keeping the soil moist. Berries, such as raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries, grow in dense thickets, providing food for both wildlife and Ihan. At this time, the forest is alive with medicinal plants such as St. John's wort, echinacea, and lavender grow in abundance, providing valuable resources. For the hermit, in summer, the forest is vibrant and lively, with many species of animals living and thriving in this habitat. Songbirds such as blackbirds, thrushes, and warblers fill the air with their melodious trills. Small mammals, such as squirrels and hares, are often seen running through the trees and bushes. Larger species, such as deer and wild boar, can be seen at the edge of the forest, coming to water at the springs and rivers that cross the valley. During this period, the animals are active and full of energy, enjoying the abundance of food and the friendly climate. The climate during the summer is warm and pleasant, with temperatures varying between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius. Summer rains are frequent, keeping the vegetation green and healthy. The sky is usually clear, with the sun shining through the leaves of the trees, creating a play of light and shadow on the forest floor. The air is scented with the aroma of flowers and aromatic plants, offering an intense sensory experience to anyone who enters this natural paradise. Winter in the valley of Mount Zayta is a spectacle of silence and white beauty. The transformation of the forest during the 6 months of winter is dramatic, every corner of nature being covered by a thick layer of snow. Tall trees, now leafless, loom like dark skeletons against the pristine white background of snow. Conifers, such as firs and pines, retain their characteristic green, providing splashes of color in the white landscape. Lianas and ferns are covered in ice and snow, adding an enchanting aspect to the forest. The berry bushes are covered in a thin layer of ice, and the perennials are hidden under the snow, preparing for rebirth in the spring. The vegetation is mostly dormant, conserving its energy for the growing season. During the winter, animal activity decreases significantly. Migratory birds have left for warmer places, and those that remain, such as titmouses and woodpeckers, are rare and difficult to spot. Small mammals, such as squirrels and hedgehogs, hibernate or limit their activity to a minimum. However, tracks in the snow betray the presence of larger animals. Wolves and foxes patrol the forest in search of food, and deer and wild boar rarely venture out in search of food. Bears, on the other hand, hibernate in their dens, waiting for spring to come. Winter brings Temperatures low, which can often drop below -10 degrees Celsius. Snow covers everything, and the landscape seems to be frozen in a profound stillness. Cold winds blow through the trees, creating a distinctive rustling and hissing sound. When it snows, snowflakes fall slowly, covering everything with a fresh and fluffy layer of white. The air is clean and cold, and on clear days, the sky is deep blue, contrasting strongly with the white of the snow. At night, the sky is filled with bright stars and the moon illuminates the forest, creating a fairy tale landscape. For Ihan, each season brings different challenges and opportunities. Summer is the time of abundance and intense activity, when they gather supplies and enjoy the diversity of life in the forest. Winter, on the other hand, is a time of reflection and adaptation, as he uses his gathered resources and finds ways to keep himself warm and fed. Ihan has learned to appreciate the beauty of each season, finding joy and peace in the cyclical changes of nature. During the summer, he enjoys exploring the forest, picking fruits, and interactions with friendly animals. In winter, he spends more time in his cave, meditating. Ara River. The Ara River is a natural jewel that meanders through the dense forest in the valley of Mount Zayta, offering a remarkable visual spectacle seen from Jeima Cave, located at an altitude of 700 meters. The Ara River adds an element of dynamism and life to the natural landscape. Every morning, Ihan sits on the plateau in front of the cave and looks at the river flowing majestically through the valley, giving him a moment of peace and contemplation. During the summer, the Ara River is vibrant and full of life. Fed by the melting snow from the high peaks of mountain and frequent rains, the Ara flows with a soothing but steady force. Its water is clear, reflecting the blue sky and the green of the forest, and creates a fascinating play of light and shadow on its surface. The banks of the river are covered with lush vegetation. The ferns and mosses grow in abundance, and willows and hazels stretch their branches close to the water, creating a picturesque setting. Wildflowers such as irises and water lilies add splashes of vibrant color, while reeds and reeds provide shelter for various species of animals, fauna in and around the river. Ara is a magnet for wildlife. Fish such as trout and grayling swim in its clear waters, attracting gulls and herons that come to feed. On the riverbanks, squirrels, raccoons, and even deer venture out to water and enjoy the coolness of the water. Insects, from dragonflies to butterflies, dance above the water, contributing to the natural symphony of the place. Every summer morning, Ihan watches the sun rise above the forest, gradually illuminating the Ara River. The sun's rays reflect on the surface of the water, creating a golden glow that fills the valley with a gentle warmth. The air is fresh and fragrant with the aroma of flowers and plants on the banks of the river, and the sound of running water adds a soothing background to the idyllic landscape. Winter brings a spectacular transformation of the Ara River. The landscape changes completely, and the river wears a coat of ice and snow that gives it a magical and enchanting appearance. The clear water of the Ara River slows down and partially freezes during winter. The ice that forms along the banks and on the surface of the river creates geometric shapes and fascinating natural sculptures. On milder days, the water continues to flow under the ice sheet, producing subtle and harmonious sounds. In winter, the vegetation on the river banks is covered by a thick layer of snow. The trees are loaded with snow, and their branches seem to bend under its weight. The reeds and reeds also bend under the weight of the snow, forming natural tunnels along the banks. Animal activity decreases, but their tracks in the snow are evidence of their continued presence. Deer and wild boar occasionally come to drink water from the unfrozen portions of the river. Foxes and hares leave their tracks in the snow as they forage. Birds such as woodpeckers and plovers are rare and precious in the white and quiet landscape. On winter mornings, Ihan enjoys a quiet and almost motionless landscape. The sky is often pale blue or covered with winter clouds, and the sunrise brings a soft, diffuse light that dresses the landscape in a dreamlike aura. The air is cold and sharp, and Ihan's breath turns into little clouds of steam. The sound of the river is quieter, but its continued presence is comforting. The sight of the Ara River is a constant source of inspiration and tranquility for Ihan. Every morning, the landscape, gives him an opportunity to reflect and connect with the surrounding nature. In the summer, he is invigorated by the energy and abundance of life around the river, and in the winter, he finds peace and calm in the quiet and white landscape. The plateau in front of the Jeima cave, located 700 meters above the valley, offers an ideal observation point. From here, Ihan can see the entire course of the Era River, surrounded by dense forest. This view reminds him daily of the power and beauty of nature, giving him a deep sense of gratitude and humility. The Era River, with its seasonal transformations and spectacular landscapes, represents the living heart of the Zayta Mountain Valley. Its view, seen from the Jeima cave, offers to Ihan an unparalleled natural spectacle. Jeima Cave. Jeima Cave is spacious and well-ventilated, with a wide opening that offers a panoramic view of the valley and the Era River. The interior of the cave is cool in summer and provides protection from the cold in winter. Ihan used simple tools, such as a chisel and a hammer, to carve various functional areas in the hard stone of the cave, transforming it into a welcoming dwelling. The kitchen is a small but well-organized space, located close to the entrance of the cave to allow smoke ventilation. Ihan dug some shelves into the stone walls to store dishes and provisions. A special niche serves as a hearth, where Ihan built a simple hearth for cooking. A small chimney carved into the rock ensures the escape of smoke. Ihan uses clay pots and pans. Food is kept in sealed containers to prevent it from attracting wild animals. During the summer, he supplies himself with wild fruits, vegetables, and herbs, which he preserves for the winter by drying or preserving. Ihan's bedroom is located in the deeper part of the cave, where the temperature is constant and the sound is attenuated, giving it a quiet place to rest. Its bed is a simple structure, carved directly into the stone and covered with layers of straw, moss, and blankets to provide thermal comfort. The wall behind the bed has carved niches for storing personal items. Ihan carved small ventilation windows in the cave walls, which allow air circulation and bring diffused light during the day. For lighting at night, he uses the Moego lamp. This lamp was created from a piece of triangular crystal discovered by Ihan when he arranged the cave to turn it into a living house point. One of the most ingenious elements of the Jeima cave is the stone door, a massive piece of rock carved by Ihan. This door is mounted on a channel dug into the floor and ceiling of the cave, allowing it to be moved easily to close or open the cave entrance. The channel in which the door moves is precise enough to allow smooth movement, but also tight enough to ensure a tight closure. Ihan created wooden and stone handles to facilitate the movement of the door. This system provides Ihan with protection from the elements of nature and possible dangers from outside, giving him a sense of security and privacy. Another part of the cave, Ihan carved a series of shelves and niches for storing supplies and tools. These spaces are well organized, allowing him to store food, firewood, and tools in an efficient and accessible way. Close to opening of the cave, Ihan set up a space for meditation. Here, on a carpet of soft moss, he spends time in prayer and reflection, enjoying the spectacular view of the Era River and the valley below. This place is simply decorated with some stones and natural objects that bring him peace and inspiration. In addition to ventilation windows, Ihan carved small openings in the cave walls to allow natural light to enter. These are oriented to maximize sunlight during the day. Jeima Cave reflects the personality and Ihan's lifestyle. Every corner of the cave is laid out with care and ingenuity, using the natural resources available. The atmosphere in the cave is one of calm and simplicity, a sanctuary that offers Ihan a safe and comfortable refuge away from the tumult of the world. Modern. This modest but functional dwelling, carved into the rock of the mountain, is a testimony to Ihan's skills and dedication. The Jeima Cave is not only a place of shelter, but also a symbol of a deep connection with nature and a life lived in harmony with the environment surrounding. Each day spent here brings Ihan a new understanding of the simplicity, self-sufficiency, and beauty of life lived in the midst of nature. Unspeakable friends. Ihan, from the Jeima Cave on Zayta Mountain, found his faithful companions in the wild animals of the forest. In the absence of humans, these creatures become reliable friends and silent companions, bringing joy and comfort to his solitary life. One of the closest to Ihan's friend is a fox with bright red fur, whom Ihan named Esme. Esme appeared near the cave since she was a cub, and she was left without her mother. And Ihan was always careful not to scare her. In time, the fox got used to his presence and even often comes to visit him, sitting quietly near him, even when he is preparing the food. A very childish relationship has formed between the two. Squirrels are ordinary inhabitants of the forest, but a few of them seem to have developed a special curiosity for Ihan. They come close to the Jeima cave, often jumping through the branches and down the rocks to procure the nuts and seeds which Ihan leaves around his dwelling. These squirrels give him moments of relaxation with their acrobatic games. Remy the stag, a big and proud stag, is a regular presence. The stag, with imposing antlers and gentle gaze, has become a quiet companion for Ihan. In the rare moments of peace absolute, Ihan can see him walking gracefully through the forest, and his presence is a symbol of freedom and the beauty of unspoiled nature. Night, the owl Cleo, with particularly beautiful plumage, sits on a branch near the entrance of the cave. This owl has become a sign of the passing of time to Ihan, with her soothing nocturnal sounds and penetrating gaze. Ihan considers her a silent guardian of the cave and a symbol of wisdom and vigilance. There's a winding and well-hidden path that descends from Mount Zayta, passing through the forest and reaching the Era River. This path is frequently used by the Ihan to reach his fishing and hunting grounds. The path begins near the Jeima cave and winds through the forest, being covered by a thick carpet of leaves and vegetation. As it descends, the path becomes wider and better defined, passing old trees, bushes, and hidden clearings. The vegetation is dense, providing shelter and shade along the entire length of the path. Along the path, Ihan memorized natural landmarks, such as would-be rocks with unusual shapes, trees with distinct trunks, and small springs that join the Era River. These landmarks help him orientate even in the darkest nights or thickest fog. During his travels on this path, Ihan often encounters traces of wildlife. Tracks of deer, boars, and rabbits are frequent, and the sound of birds and insects add a natural symphony to the background. Sometimes, he also spots the fleeing silhouettes of larger animals, such as wolves or bears, but they avoid direct contact with him. At the end of the path, Ihan reaches the banks of the Era River, where he has set up specific places for fishing and hunting. Ihan uses simple, handmade equipment for fishing. Braided hemp serves as fishing line, and the hooks are made of bone or metal. Natural baits, such as worms and insects, are his favorites. The Era River is rich in fish such as trout and grayling. Ihan fishes patiently, respecting nature and taking only what he needs for food. Fishing not only provides him with food, but also moments of peace and meditation as he watches the clear water flow between the stones. Ihan uses simple traps and handmade bows for hunting. The traps are strategically placed along the paths of small animals, such as rabbits and squirrels. Carefully crafted bows and arrows are used for larger game such as deer or wild boar. Ihan hunts with a deep respect for nature, taking only what he needs and making sure not to disturb the balance ecological. He uses everything from his game, the skin for clothing and shelter, the meat for food, and the bones for tools or art. The isolated forest of Mount Zayta, with its secret path and rich fauna, provides Ihan with a sufficient lifestyle. The path that descends to the Era River and its fishing and hunting grounds are essential to its existence. Every day spent in this wild and beautiful forest deepens its connection with nature, giving it peace, inspiration, and a deep sense of belonging to this unparalleled natural landscape. The river the Era, which flows through the valley of Mount Zayta, is a vital element in Ihan's life. From peaceful fishing on its banks to explorations upstream, the river is not only a source of food and water, but also a constant companion in his solitude. Ihan's road upstream, to the place where the river springs, is a journey of discovery, reflection, and deep connection with nature. Upstream expedition. Ihan is a man of nature, and every expedition requires careful preparation. Before starting upstream, he prepares a simple backpack in which he puts some essential supplies. In order to survive during the journey, he takes with him fishing hooks made of animal bone, hemp thread, some traps, and his bow with arrows, dried fruits, nuts, and smoked meat, all kept in leather bags, easy to carry, warm clothes, and sturdy shoes to cope with different weather conditions and rugged terrain, a multi-purpose knife, a flame, and a few pieces of rope. As Ihan follows the course of the Era River upstream, the scenery gradually changes. The forest becomes more and more dense, and the ground more rocky and uneven. The vegetation diversifies, and rare and beautiful plant species appear on the water's edge. At the beginning, the road is guarded by oaks and beeches. As it climbs, these are gradually replaced by pines and firs, adaptable to higher altitudes, alpine flowers and grasses. At higher altitudes, the flora becomes more specific to alpine areas, with small and resistant flowers such as cornflower and gentian, lichens and mosses along the wet rocks along the river. Ihan notices moss and lichen clinging to the rocky surfaces, adding a subtle beauty to the landscape. Fauna observed. Along his journey, Ihan encounters various wild animals that make an appearance on the river banks. Birds of water, wild ducks and herons are often seen fishing in the calm waters of the river. Deer, bears, and wild boars are common in this area, and Ihan uses his tracking skills to observe without disturbing. Insects and fish, dragonflies, butterflies, and the fish in the river add vitality and color to the landscape. On the first day, Ihan leaves the Jeima cave early in the morning, enjoying the fresh air and the coolness of the morning. The initial road is familiar and easy, as he has traveled it many times to his fishing spots. He crosses the dense forest, guided by the constant sound of the Era River. Along the way, he takes short breaks to fish and refresh his supplies. In the evening, he reaches an open clearing where he sets up a simple shelter and rests by the fire. The second day brings more difficult and rugged terrain. As he climbs, the forest becomes sparser and rockier, and the Era River becomes a tumultuous stream. Ihan carefully navigates through the slippery rocks and alpine meadows, where the air becomes thinner and colder. In this area, he meets and follows tracks of black goats and marmots. On the third day, the road becomes the most difficult, but also the most exciting. Ihan climbs higher, on a steep and rugged terrain. The vegetation is now limited to small bushes and alpine grasses. As it approaches the spring, the stream becomes smaller and clearer, until it reaches a small waterfall that pours from a rocky wall. The spring of the Era River is a source of pure water, which infiltrates from the mountain, forming the river that feeds the entire valley. The source of the Era River is located in a hidden and picturesque place at a considerable altitude. Here, the water flows from a crack in the rock, forming a small waterfall that flows into a natural pool. The vegetation around the spring is sparse, dominated by lichens, mosses, and a few alpine flowers. Birds and insects are rare here, but Ihan often notices tracks of animals that come to drink water from the spring. The plane crash. After spending a peaceful day at the source of the Era River, Ihan begins his return journey to Jeima Cave. As he descends through the familiar landscape, his mind is occupied with thoughts of the beauty and tranquility of Mount Zayta. However, an unexpected event changes them completely. The course of the journey. As he descends the mountain, Ihan hears an unusual noise, an engine sound that rapidly intensifies, followed by a loud impact noise. Looking up, he sees a small plane crashing not too far away. Without wasting time, Ihan quickly heads towards the crash site, guided by the thick smoke rising from the wreckage. Arriving at the crash site, Ihan sees the crashed plane, severely damaged. Despite his precarious condition, he remains calm and focused on finding survivors. Fire and smoke are immediate dangers, but Ihan approaches cautiously, calling out to see if anyone answers. After a few minutes of searching, Ihan finds a young woman in her 30s, conscious but seriously injured. The woman was of captivating beauty, with blonde hair that shone in the sun's rays and blue eyes that seemed to reflect the clear sky. Dressed in elegant office clothes, the contrast between the sophisticated outfit and the wild nature was striking. The fine materials of her costume showed that she was a woman of the world, accustomed to luxury and comfort. Ihan approached carefully, noting the exquisite details of her clothes and the discreet but precious jewelry. This was clearly a woman of wealth, but now, in a vulnerable state, she needed his help. She has several cuts and bruises, and her right leg appears to be fractured. The girl, shocked and painfully injured, answers in a weak voice. Ihan uses all his first aid knowledge to stabilize the condition. Improvises a leg splint using branches and rope. Ihan creates an improvised splint to immobilize the fractured leg, cleans the wounds. With water from the Era River and medicinal plants from the area, he cleans and disinfects the cuts. Ihan talks to her reassuringly, explaining that he will take her to a safe place and take care of her. Ihan knows they can't stay at the crash site too long because of the fire risk and potential dangers in the forest. With much care and effort, he manages to transport the young woman back to the Jeima cave, using a makeshift harness made of blankets and ropes to ease her pain and protect her as much as possible. Arriving at the Jeima cave, Ihan places the young woman on his bed. Leaves and furs, setting up a cozy and warm corner for her. He continues to treat her wounds, using all available resources. He applies herbal compresses to reduce inflammation and prevent infection. He gives her fresh water and nutritious food, such as the vegetable soup and the fresh fruit he has in the cave. After he brought the injured woman to the cave and gave her medical care, for 2 days the girl slept deeply and Ihan watched over her. But at the same time several questions appeared in his mind. Who is this woman I found? She is in serious condition, but I managed to stabilize her. I have never seen someone so refined here in the wild. Do you realize what story it must have? Look how she is dressed. She is clearly not used to life here. I wonder who she is and what she was doing in the area. I guess I'll know more when she recovers. For now, I have to help her recover. It's clear she needs me. Ihan approached the injured woman and studied her delicate and beautiful features. Despite her injuries, her beauty remained unaltered. It's incredible how fragile and strong she seems at the same time. Her clothes, jewelry, everything suggests that she comes from a very rich family. Yes, it's like she landed from another universe, but now she's here in my care. I'll do everything I can to help her. After a few days, the woman began to recover and be aware of her surroundings. With a weak voice, she began to speak. Where am I? What happened? You are safe. I found you after your plane crashed. I brought you here to my cave and took care of you. Thank you. I'm Alena. I'm grateful for everything you've done. The plane belonged to my family. My name is Ihan, and now you are in my house. Alena and Ihan exchanged a fleeting glance, realizing that their lives had crossed at an unexpected moment for both of them. Yes, take your time. Getting better is the most important thing now. As the days pass, Ihan devotedly cares for the young woman, making sure that her wounds heal and that she receives all the support she needs during this time. The two begin to talk and get to know each other better. The girl tells her about her life before the accident, and Ihan shares with her fragments of his solitary life on Zayta Mountain between Ihan and the young woman. A deep connection based on attachment and friendship is formed, being close in age. She is grateful for the care and protection she offers him, and Ihan finds in her presence an unexpected and pleasant company. They learn from each other and share moments of silence and reflection in the Jeima cave, surrounded by nature wild of Mount Zayta. Ihan and Alena. Ihan noticed that despite her injuries, she is a strong and lively person. She tells him about her passion for nature, about her trips and adventures in wild places, and how she ended up in the plane that crashed. When Alena begins to feel better, she is more and more impressed by the Jeima cave and the simple but profound life that Ihan leads there. The cave, with its kitchen, bedroom, and stone door created by Ihan, seems to her a magical place and full of harmony with nature. She notices how Ihan lives in balance with the environment, using nature's resources without depleting or destroying them. After a few days of recovery, Alena makes an important decision. She feels that Jeima Cave and Ihan's company offers a perfect refuge and a unique opportunity to connect more deeply with nature. He also realizes that he could learn a lot from Ihan about survival, self-sufficiency, and living in harmony with the environment. Ihan, happy to have a new friend, begins to show Alena the secrets of his livelihood. Ihan teaches her how to identify and use medicinal plants, how to fish and hunt, and how to build traps. Alena learns how to use a chisel and hammer to carve stone, helping to improve the cave and create tools from animal bones. Ihan shows her how to manage and conserve the available resources, making sure they have sufficient supplies of food and water. Alena, already a lover of nature, adapts quickly to life in the cave. She explores the surroundings and enjoys the beautiful scenery of Mount Zayta. She often spends her mornings on the plateau in front of the cave, admiring the sunrise and the peaceful flow of the Era River. One clear morning, on the plateau in front of the Jeima cave, Alena and Ihan were sitting together, enjoying the gorgeous view of the valley and each other's company. The fresh and cool morning air was full of the smell of wildflowers, and the sounds of nature created a quiet and comforting atmosphere. Ihan, I want to thank you again for everything you did for me. If it wasn't for you, I don't know how I would have survived after the accident. You don't have to thank me, Alena. I'm just happy that I found you in time and that you're fine now. You're a very strong person. I felt so good here, in this wonderful place. It gave me the chance to recover and find an inner peace that I hadn't felt in a long time. I want to tell you something about myself, something I haven't told you before. Of course, Alena, tell me everything you want. My family is very rich. The plane with which I had the accident belonged to my family. I grew up in luxury and comfort, but I never felt true happiness and freedom until now, here, with you. I understand. It must have been a big change for you, to adapt to life here. Yes, it was an enormous change, but one that I embraced with all my heart. I feel free, connected to nature, and, most importantly, I feel loved. I want to stay here, with you, Ihan. Life on what I have discovered here is everything I ever wanted. Alena, I'm glad to hear that. I also want you to be with me. Since you appeared in my life, everything has become more beautiful and full of meaning. You are everything I ever wanted, Ihan. I want us to build a life together, here, away from the hectic world. We have everything we need, nature, peace, and love. I feel the same way, Alena. You're welcome to stay here as long as you want. We'll do whatever it takes to make sure we have everything we need. Thank you, Ihan. I promise to do my best to contribute together to this wonderful life we have here. We will succeed together, Alena. I am sure of it. We are a strong team. Looking at the clear sky and listening to the birds singing in the valley, Alena and Ihan felt a deep happiness. They were ready to face any challenge and build a life full of love and harmony in the middle of nature. Dialogue on paper and ink. Ihan, I read in the old books I found in my parents' house about how paper was made in the past. I thought it would be interesting to try to make paper from dry wood too. You know, maybe we can find a method to write and preserve our ideas. That sounds fascinating, Alena. I'd really like to learn how to make paper. Tell me how we can get started. Well, we need the trunk of a dry tree. I found some birch near here that is perfect for that. I see. So we have to grind them then? Exactly. After we grind them, we will make a paste from them, mixing with water. We have to let the mixture sit for a few days so that it macerates well. It sounds simple, but I think it will be very interesting. After we mix the wood with water, what comes next? After the paste is ready, we will pour it into a mold made from a piece of stone carved by you that is based on a thin animal skin to strengthen the structure. We will pour the paste into the mold, let it dry in the sun, and after a week, we will have a sheet of paper. Wonderful! And with the dry leaves? What will we do with them? We will mix the dry leaves with water to create a similar paste. We will use this paste to write on our paper. We will use a bird feather to write, as people did in the past. This is brilliant, Alena. We will be able to write our messages, ideas, and even the stories we will live here. It's like bringing a bit of the world beyond the mountains here, in the wilderness. Let's start with the wood. I'll bring the rotten tree trunk, and you can grind them. Next, we will mix the paste. You want to try making the paste from the leaves? Sure. I can't wait to see how it turns out. I love the idea of adding something new to our life here. Look, Ihan, I've ground the rotten wood. Now, we'll put it in a big bowl of water and let it sit for a few days. It's a good activity to pass the time and put our thoughts in order. I will collect the dry leaves and mix them with water. We will need a lot of patience for the paste to be well made. After a few days of preparations, the wood paste was ready. Alena and Ihan spread the paste on a thin skin, forming thin sheets. They let the paper dry in the sun, and after a week, the paper sheets were ready to be used. Look, Alena, our paper is ready. Looks fantastic. Yes, and the smell of wood is so pleasant. Now we can write. Let's try it with a bird feather. I'll write a message on our first piece of paper. Are you ready? I like the idea of writing with a bird's feather. It reminds me of the old days, when people used to write stories and histories on parchments. Yes, it's perfect. Right here, on our sheet. Let's leave our mark on this place, Ihan. In the heart of Zayta Mountain, I found true love and the peace I was looking for. Alena and Ihan, together forever. It's perfect, Ihan. We are part of this story and we will write many more pages together. Thank you for being with me. I thank you too, Alena. I am happy that I found you and that we can build this wonderful life together. With hearts full of joy and a new page in front of them, Alena and Ihan continued to write their story in the heart of the forest. Surrounded by the beauty and tranquility of nature, together, they brought the past and the present into one place, creating a lifelong bond of love and adventure. Alena makes her own contribution to their small community. She begins to collect plants and herbs for two, create infusions and natural remedies. He also begins to draw and write about his experiences, documenting the wildlife and natural beauty of Mount Zayta. As the days pass, life at Jeima Cave becomes more organized and harmonious. Ihan and Alena shares their tasks and spends their evenings telling stories and sharing knowledge. They become a team, each contributing unique skills and knowledge to create a self-sufficient and meaningful living environment. They learn from each other and support each other in difficult times. Ihan appreciates Alena for her courage and optimism, while Alena respects Ihan for his wisdom and knowledge of nature. Life in the Jeima Cave, although isolated from the world, becomes a daily adventure for Ihan and Alena. Each day brings new discoveries and teachings. Together, they discover that although they have retreated far from civilization, they have found a common purpose and a way to live in harmony with nature and themselves. The unexpected meeting with Alena brought a new dimension in Ihan's life. From a solitary existence, he moved to a life shared with a kindred spirit, finding in Alena not only a companion, but also a partner in the exploration and deeper understanding of the natural world. Together, they managed to create a small paradise in the wildness of Mount Zayta. Jeima Cave and its surroundings become a real refuge for many animals. Alena, with her big and caring heart, creates small shelters for the most vulnerable animals and does her best to provide them with a safe and friendly environment. Ihan, with his hands-on skills, helps her build these shelters and provide the necessary supplies to feed the animals. The animals become an integral part of their daily lives. Ihan and Alena enjoy their presence, observing their behaviors and learning from interactions with them. Squirrels come to take nuts from their palm, birds sing delightful songs in the morning, and deer approach without fear, feeling the safety offered by the two friendly people. The first night of love. It was a late summer evening with a fairy tale atmosphere, when everything seemed to conspire to create a magical moment. The starry sky stretched over Mount Zayta, and butterflies were flying around, adding a touch of magic to the landscape. Fireflies lit delicately the darkness, creating a mysterious and charming aura around Jeima Cave. The air was filled with the sweet scent of summer flowers, a delightful combination of aromas that filled the atmosphere with freshness and romance. A warm wind gently blew, caressing their skin and bringing soothing sounds of the birds singing in the valley. In the distance, the murmur of the Era River could be heard, adding a pleasant and soothing sound background. I end that silence, without words, just by looking. They felt that a deep connection had formed between them, a bond which none of them had experienced until then. With her heart beating faster, Alena approached Ihan. Her gaze was full of affection and desire, and he responded with the same intensity. With tender movements, she kissed him with fire, letting their feelings pour out. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, full of tenderness and emotion, on the plateau in front of the Jeima cave. Ihan painstakingly carved a tub from the rock of the mountain. It was a process long and laborious, but the final result was worth every effort. The sculpted bathtub was perfectly integrated into the natural landscape, offering a place of relaxation and pampering in the middle of the wilderness. Alena contributed to the transformation of this bathtub into a real oasis of relaxation. She brought fresh water from the river Era, which he mixed with essential oils obtained from the flowers and plants he had collected from the surroundings. The oils added a delicate and pleasant aroma, transforming the bathtub into a space of tranquility and revitalization. Hand in hand they entered the tub, and the scents of flowers and plants accentuated their desire and passion, kissing with fire. As their kiss grew more intense, Alena and Ihan retreated into the cave. With each touch, with every gesture, they expressed their love and desire. Every movement was full of desire and passionate love. Alena, delicately, took Ihan's hand and pressed it to her chest. He took her in his arms and led him to their bed. There, in the soft light of the fire, they confessed their feelings to each other, making sure they both agreed to take this important step. Laying in the bed covered with moss and strewn with rose flowers and white water lilies, Ihan and Alena continued to tenderly explore each other. Every touch was a discovery. Every kiss was a promise. In that unforgettable night, Alena opened up like a flower to receive all of Ihan's love. That night, and they shared not only their bodies, but also their souls. It was the first intimate relationship for both of them, and the experience was marked by strong emotions and a deep connection. In that magical night, they shared not only their bodies, but also their souls, leaving behave with the wave of feelings that enveloped them. After spending that magical night together, Alena and Ihan stayed in each other's arms, talking about what they feel and what this experience means to them. In those intimate moments, they realized that they can only be friends or life partners in nature. In a sincere and deep dialogue, they confessed their desire to be together as a real couple. Ihan looked Alena in the eyes and told her that he wanted to be next to her every day, to share both the joys and the difficulties of life. Alena, with eyes full of tears of happiness, answered that she felt the same. They swore to each other to be loyal, to support each other and build a life together full of love and respect. The decision to become a couple changed the dynamics of their daily lives. Together, they continued to care for the animals around the cave, work on improving their shelter, and explore the nature of the surroundings. Every activity was now enriched by the love and complicity between them. The animals around the cave became an essential part of their life as a couple. With love and care, Alena and Ihan continued to create a safe and friendly environment for all living things. They built bigger shelters, planted more plants, and did their best to ensure a balance between their needs and those of nature. As their relationship deepened, Alena and Ihan began to make plans for the future. They envisioned a long life together, living in harmony with nature and continuing to explore and discover the beauties of Mount Zayta. They discussed the possibility of building more structures around the cave, developing a small vegetable garden. One of the strongest commitments they took was to continue living in harmony with nature. Alena and Ihan knew that their love for nature was an essential element that brought them together, and that it would remain a fundamental part of their life together. They promised to protect and respect the environment, ensuring that they leave a positive mark on the place they call home. Undress in the Era River. In the soft morning light, after a night of intense love, Alena and Ihan were sitting on the plateau in front of the Jeima cave. Their smiles were full of happiness and complicity, and the surrounding nature seemed to celebrate their joy. I had a wonderful night. I feel so connected to you and to the nature here. I feel the same way, Alena. Last night was magical. I want to get to know you even better, to explore every aspect of our lives together. I have an idea. How about we go down the hidden path to the Era River and take a bath? We didn't get a chance to explore our beautiful young bodies fully. Fresh and cold water would be perfect after last night. I think it's an excellent idea. The bath will be refreshing and give us the opportunity to connect even more. Let's go downstairs then. The two go down the hidden path, among the thick vegetation and chirping birds. The Era River welcomes them with its soothing murmur and crystal clear water that shines under the sun's rays. Look how beautiful it is here. The water looks so clear and refreshing. I can't wait to get in the water. Let's undress and enter the water. It will be a wonderful experience. Alena and Ihan take off their clothes, exposing themselves to nature. They hold hands and step slowly into the cold water of the river. Ihan looks at Alena with admiration and wonder, feeling overwhelmed by her beauty. Alena, you're like a goddess from historical legends. I never thought I would fall in love with a goddess. Your body is perfect and your beauty is unmatched. Oh, Ihan, thank you. You are too cute, but you are also wonderful. Together, we are perfect in this nature. The water is so refreshing. It's perfect for a bath after last night. Yes, it's wonderful. I feel that it cleanses us of all worries and invigorates us. It's as if nature is blessing us. In the cold water of the river, they play and splash, laughing and feeling free. Every touch is full of tenderness and passion, and the river becomes a silent witness of their love. Alena watches in amazement how after all her clumsy and lacking caresses of the experience and intimacy, she touched Ihan's manhood for the first time and remained with her eyes fixed, not believing what she saw, seeing the wonder in her eyes. Ihan kissed her with fire, and they made love there in the water of the river, were so afraid of those moments of love that they didn't even realize that the completion was inside Alena. As if nothing happened physically, everything was like a dream. You are so beautiful, Ihan. Every part of you brings me joy. You are wonderful too, Alena. We are like two free souls in this natural paradise. The morning was pouring its gentle rays over the Era River, creating a landscape of rare beauty. The birds were chirping happily in the branches of the trees, and the sound of the water added a soothing background to this idyllic scenes. The sun gently warmed the earth and the wind blew gently, the rustle of the forest being like a whisper of nature. I end this perfect harmony. A new life took shape inside Alena. I end that sacred moment. A new life began to take shape inside Alena. It was as if nature itself had blessed their love, giving them the ultimate gift of life. The murmur of water, the chirping of birds, and the rustle of the forest seemed to sing a symphony for this miracle. Alena felt a special warmth inside her, a feeling of fullness and boundless joy. It was as if the whole universe had united to celebrate this moment of creation. In Ihan's arms, she felt protected and loved, knowing that this new life would be the fruit of their pure and sincere love. Ihan, I feel something special. It's as if nature blessed our love. I feel the same, Alena. You are everything I ever wanted, and now we have a divine gift. Let's enjoy this moment and cherish it forever. Alena and Ihan were in the river, hugging each other, a dance of love and nature. The cold water caressed their skin, while their laughter echoed like an echo of pure happiness. Their touches were full of tenderness and passion, each gesture being a declaration of love. I end that moment of intimacy deep. Their bodies joined, and the universe seemed to breathe with them. Each moment seemed eternal, time standing still to celebrate this magical connection. The sun, in its glow, warmed their souls, and the breeze seemed to whisper blessings. After playing and splashing, Alena and Ihan approach each other, looking into each other's eyes. The cold and pure water envelopes them, and the moment becomes one of deep intimacy. I love you, Ihan. I want us to spend as many moments as possible like this together. I love you too, Alena. Every day spent with you is a blessing. I want us to explore together everything that nature and life has to offer. After enjoying their moment in the river, Alena and Ihan come out of the water, feeling refreshed and more connected than ever. They get dressed and return to the cave, ready to continue their adventures together, with hearts full of love and hope. It was a wonderful experience. Let's make bathing in the river a daily habit. It will keep us healthy and happy. I agree. Every day will be a new opportunity to enjoy our life in this wonderful place. Let's keep exploring and loving each other, Alena. With a smile on your face and a heart full of happiness, Alena and Ihan they continue their day, ready to face any challenge together in this paradise of nature. Taming wild animals. Ihan and Alena, realizing the approach of winter, decided to secure food supplies for the cold season, since the Jeima cave was located 700 meters above the valley and more than 200 kilometers from the nearest village. It was essential to have food for the winter season, winter that lasted 6 months. Thus, they decided to look for and tame animals that would provide them with milk, meat, and eggs. Ihan prepared his tools for construction and traps, and Alena brought her equipment for animal care. They also took with them some basic supplies such as ropes, food to attract the animals, and blankets to provide temporary shelter. In the following days, Ihan and Alena began exploring the valley. They set out in the morning, accompanied by Esme, the fox their friend, and Remy, the protective deer. The Black Panther cub stayed at the cave, safe. After a few hours of walking through the forest, they saw a hill full of blue flowers that gave off a very pleasant smell. While Alena was picking some flowers to put in Jaima's house, they found a small herd of wild goats. Patiently and delicately, Alena began to interact with them, offering them food and talking to them calmly. After a few hours of interacting with the 8 goats, a goat, and the 12 kids, Alena managed to lead the herd to Jaima's house. On another day of walking on the banks of the Era River, near a clearing, they discovered a group of wild chickens. Ihan built a small trap by digging a hole and covering it with some twigs, after which he scattered seeds, managed to catch a few chickens. They were carried back to the cave and sheltered under a reed basket made by Alena. In a more remote valley, almost 4 hours from walked through the valley of Mount Zayta, they found some wild pigs, but Ihan, with his experience, built traps by digging a big pit covered with branches, and after a while 5 pigs fell into the trap. With great skill, Ihan got the pigs out of the pit with the help of ropes, and saw that there was a family with 3 little pigs. He tied them together, and that's how they arrived at Jaima's house. Once the animals were brought safely to Jaima's cave, the next step was to build suitable shelters attached to Jaima's house. Ihan used logs and branches to build stables for goats and pigs and a coop for chickens. The shelters were designed to provide protection from the cold and predators, ensuring that the animals would be comfortable during the winter. Alena and Ihan shared the tasks of caring for the animals. Alena took care of milking the goats and collecting the eggs, while Ihan made sure the animals had enough food and water. They also began to prepare additional food for the winter, such as hay for the goats and chickens and supplies of grain for the pigs. Taming and caring for the animals brought a new dynamic to their lives at the Jeima cave. Esme, the playful fox, was initially curious, but quickly learned to respect the new members of the household. Remy, the deer, seemed to enjoy the company of the new animals, and the Black Panther cub was wary, but eventually got used to their presence. As the days passed and winter approached, Ihan and Alena stocked up on food. Goat's milk was made into cheese and butter, and hen's eggs were stored for the cold months. They also slaughtered a pig, preparing meat for the winter and preserving it by smoking and drying. A new corner of paradise. On a chilly morning that heralded the approach of winter, Ihan and Alena decided to explore the area near the Jeima cave to find an additional source of water. Their cave was well stocked with supplies for the winter, but a more accessible source of water was extremely useful, especially for the animals they had recently tamed. With a makeshift shovel from an animal bone, Ihan began to dig a hole in the soft, damp earth about 50 meters from their cave. After several hours of intensive work, they noticed how the ground became more and more wet and sandy, a sign that they were approaching a water source. Finally, they came across a layer of gravel covering a crystalline spring. Clear water began to flow from the ground, filling the dug hole. Alena tasted the water and found that it was fresh and cold, perfect for drinking. To make the most of this discovery, Ihan and Alena decided to enlarge the hole. They dug it deeper and wider, turning it into a small natural pond. They added stones to the edges to strengthen the banks and prevent erosion. They planted aquatic plants and grass around the pond to create a natural environment and stabilize the soil. Soon, vegetation began to develop, and the pond became an oasis of greenery and tranquility. Ihan cut down some young trees to create a clearing above the pond. Now the sun could come in and heat the water of the spring, which was cold and crystal clear. And it took a long time for nature to make its presence felt. One morning, while Alena and Ihan were preparing the pond for their animals, they noticed some wild ducks landing on the water. The ducks floated gracefully, enjoying their new home. Shortly after the arrival of the ducks, a group of wild geese also discovered the pond. The geese were initially more reserved. Once they saw that they felt safe, they began to spend more and more time there. Ihan and Alena were delighted with their new visitors. They observed the ducks and wild geese as they went about their daily activities. They let their wildness run wild without interfering too much, wanting to maintain the wild nature of the place. While Alena brought seeds and vegetable scraps to give the ducks and geese a supplement of food, over time, the birds began to come closer and closer to her, accepting food from her hand. This interaction brought much joy and created a special bond between them and the wild birds. The crystalline spring became an important source of water for their entire household. They used it for drinking, cooking, hygiene, and for watering their animals. Also, the pond became a place to relax, where they enjoy the sound of water and the presence of birds. By creating the pond, Ihan and Alena brought to life a small ecosystem in front of their cave. In addition to ducks and geese, other wild animals began to visit the area. Attracted of fresh water and abundant vegetation, the singing birds, insects, and small mammals turned the place into a true sanctuary of nature. The discovery of the spring and the arrangement of the pond marked a new chapter in their life at the Jeima cave. The water source brought not only a practical benefit, but also a great joy, giving them the opportunity to live in an even closer connection with nature. Ihan and Alena thus consolidated their self-sufficiency and created a corner of paradise where man and nature coexist harmoniously. Every day spent at the Jeima cave, with their tamed animals and the wild visitors of the pond, brought them deep fulfillment and a genuine connection with their environment. Faced with the challenges of the approaching winter, they were prepared, calm, and full of confidence for the future. The vegetable garden. The next day, Ihan and Alena woke up full of happiness and energy. Their joy of being together, surrounded by the beauty of nature around the Jeima cave, gave them the impetus to start a new chapter of their life together. And they proposed to improve their life in the wilderness, jumping hand in hand and full of enthusiasm in exploring the valley, looking for a perfect place to set up a vegetable garden. The valley of Mount Zayta was a real natural paradise. This morning, the sky was clear and the sun shone gently over the green and lush landscape. The leaves of the trees rustled gently in the warm breeze, and the Era River flowed quietly, reflecting the sunlight like a string of brilliant diamonds. Ihan and Alena set off on the path that descended from the mountain and was heading towards the valley. On the way, they were accompanied by the singing of birds and the rustling of wildlife in the forest. Together, they discussed their plans about what vegetables they wanted to plant and how they wanted to organize the garden to blend harmoniously into the natural landscape. While exploring the valley, Ihan and Alena discussed the criteria that the site chosen for the garden should meet. It had to be a place with easy access to water, but also with enough exposure to the sun. Also, the soil had to be fertile and easy to work. With these thoughts in mind, they continued to look for the perfect spot. After several hours of exploration, they arrived at a small plateau near the banks of the Era River. Here, the soil was soft and rich, and the place was well exposed to the sun throughout of the day. Proximity to the river gave them easy access to water, essential for gardening. Also, the site was close enough to their cave to be convenient, but secluded enough to give them the privacy they needed. With the site chosen, Ihan and Alena they immediately set to work. They cleared the land of wild vegetation and marked the places where the vegetables were to be planted. Ihan, with his experience in sculpture and stonework, built small irrigation canals to bring water from the Era River directly into garden. Alena, with her knowledge of plants and gardening, selected the right seeds for the local conditions. They planted a variety of vegetables, including tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and lettuce. As they worked, they discussed how they would care for the garden and how they would share responsibilities. Each seed planted was a promise of the future, a symbol of their new life together. Working in the garden was not only a practical activity, but also a way to connect with each other and with nature. Ihan and Alena, they enjoyed every moment spent together, working side by side and sharing the joy of creating something new. Each plant was a testament to their love and desire to build a sustainable life in the middle of nature. After a long day of work, they returned to the Jeima cave, where their rock-carved bathtub awaited them. After working together in the garden, bathing became a ritual of relaxation and pampering. They entered the warm and fragrant water with flower oils, enjoying the quiet of the evening and each other's company. In the following days and weeks, Ihan and Alena continued to work together in their garden. Caring for the plants became an essential part of their daily routine, providing them not only with food, but also with the satisfaction of seeing their labor bear fruit. Each vegetable grown was a symbol of their effort and love. The first swarm of bees. After eating, Ihan and Alena were walking around the back of Jeima cave. They noticed a swarm of bees that had taken shelter in a tall tree near Jeima cave, driven by the desire to diversify their resources and have fresh honey. The two decided to capture the swarm and bring it near their home. Alena, I think it would be an excellent idea to capture this swarm of bees. Their honey will be of great use to us, and the pollination will help the growth of our garden. You are right, Ihan. We have everything we need to build a beehive. We just have to be careful and not disturb the bees too much. Ihan carefully climbed the tree and carefully detached the swarm of bees, carefully came down from the tree. Ihan and Alena prepared a new hive, made of cedar wood. Just like many of the other constructions near their cave, the hive was carefully designed to provide the bees with a safe and comfortable environment. Look, the hive is ready. I also added beeswax to attract them in more easily. I hope they will settle in quickly. They chose a perfect place for the hive, in a lavender field near the Jeima cave, beyond the pond with crystal clear water. The lavender field will not only provide the bees with a rich source of nectar, but will also add a delightful fragrance to the air. The lavender field will be ideal for bees. It will help not only in the production of honey, but also in the pollination of the plants in the garden. And it will be wonderful to have lavender honey. I read that it is very aromatic and healthy. Carefully, Ihan and Alena transferred the bees to their new home. Slowly but surely, the bees began to explore their new environment, accepting the hive and starting to organize. We succeeded, Alena. Now we just have to give them time to settle in. Soon, we will have fresh honey. I am so happy. The honey will be of great help to us, and I am sure we will enjoy it. We will have even more natural resources for our family. Thus, the bees have found a new home in the hive built by Ihan and Alena, bringing an extra life and freshness next to the Jeima cave. The lavender field, with its delicate fragrance, became an even more special place, and the sound of humming bees added a touch of peace and harmony to that corner of heaven. Binks the panther cub. One rainy evening, Ihan and Alena heard a faint sound coming from a bush near the cave. Approaching carefully, they discovered a black panther cub, wet and shivering from the cold. The cub seemed lost and alone, and Alena, with a heart full of compassion, took him in her arms and brought him to their shelter. With patience and love, Alena and Ihan took care of the panther cub, giving him warm milk and a safe place to sleep. In time, the cub grew stronger and more confident, exploring the cave and its surroundings with curiosity. Ihan built a small shelter in the cave for the young panther, where she could retreat and rest. The black panther cub became an important member of their family. Over time, a deep bond developed between the animal and Alena. The panther followed her everywhere, playing with her and showing his affection in a unique way. The presence of this wild animal brought a touch of mystery and adventure to their lives. but also a sense of protection and companionship. Ihan and Alena felt blessed to live with their non-speaking friends. Esme, Remy, and the Black Panther cub formed a unique community, each bringing something special to their lives. Every day was an adventure, full of moments of joy and discovery. Caring for these wild animals was a responsibility that Ihan and Alena took very seriously. They shared their tasks, making sure that each animal received the attention and care it needed. Feeding, cleaning, and health monitoring, they were an integral part of their daily routine. Ihan and Alena's non-speaking friends, Esme the fox, Remy the deer, and Binks the Black Panther cub, brought immense joy and emotional depth to their lives. Each of these animals helped create atmospheres of love and harmony, transforming the Jeima cave into a true sanctuary of nature. The special relationships they have developed with these animals reflect their deep respect for nature and the desire to live in balance with the wild world around them. Raft construction. On a clear morning, sitting on the plateau in front of the Jeima cave, Ihan and Alena discussed new adventures and ways of further exploring the beauty of nature around them, while they were watching the Era River meandering quietly through the valley. It occurred to them a bold idea: to build a raft and travel downstream on the Era River. To build a solid and safe raft, Ihan and Alena started planning and gathering the necessary materials. They decided to use thick and strong logs, ropes and vines, twigs and smaller branches, durable canvas. Ihan, with his skills in working with wood and stone, drew a simple but effective design of the raft. They planned to build a platform large enough to support both of them, but also to carry a few essentials. It also included a canvas stand to be used as an umbrella. With the plan set, Ihan and Alena went down the secret path behind the Jeima cave and arrived at the bank of the Era River, which was a width between the banks of about 200 meters and a depth of 3 to 4 meters. They began to gather the necessary materials. They went nearby to look for suitable and strong branches. Esme, the playful fox, accompanied them, running curiously among the trees, and Remy, the majestic stag, seemed to be watching them from a distance. Of course, Binks the panther cub was always ready to defend them in case someone wanted to attack them. Returning with the collected materials, they started to assemble the raft. Ihan cut the logs to the right size and lined them up side by side, forming the base of the raft. With Alena's help, they tied the logs together with ropes and vines, making sure everything was tight and stable. As the construction of the raft progressed, they added smaller branches and twigs to strengthen the structure and cover any gaps. Finally, they mounted the canvas on top, creating a small shade to protect them from the sun during the trip. With the raft ready, the next step was preparing the necessities and equipment for the trip. They gathered non-perishable food, drinking water, basic tools, and a few changes of clothes. They also prepared some fishing tools in case they needed extra food on the way. After a month's work, the raft was ready for launch. Before they left, they took care to say goodbye to their speechless friends. Esme, the fox, seemed to understand that it was to be a temporary parting and watched them with her eyes his smarts. Remy, the stag, came up to them, almost as if to wish them good luck. The more reluctant Black Panther cub hid in the corner of the cave, but Alena stroked him gently, promising that they would return soon. On a chilly morning, Ihan and Alena launched their raft on the still waters of the Era River. With hearts filled with excitement and anticipation, they began to paddle, letting the river's current carry them downstream. As they moved away from the Jeima cave, the spectacular view of the mountains and forests around them filled them with joy. The discovery of Lake Era. As the raft progressed down the river, Ihan and Alena had the opportunity to explore the beauty of nature around them in a whole new way. They passed crystal-clear waterfalls, dense forests, and sunny clearings. The Era River meandered through beautiful landscapes, wild and untouched, giving them the opportunity to see wild animals in their natural habitat. During the trip, they also had moments of relaxation and reflection. Lying on their raft, under the canvas umbrella, they listened to the sounds of nature, the song of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the murmur of water. They talked about their dreams, their future plans, and how lucky they felt to be living this adventure together. The journey on the Era River was not without challenges. They encountered more tumultuous sections of the river where the current was stronger and navigation became more difficult in such a stretch. They had to use all their skills to keep the raft stable. In the evening, they anchored the raft on a small beach and made a campfire. They cooked fish caught from the river and told stories about their future plans. At night, they fell asleep under the starry sky, listening to the sound of water. During the second day, they had some interesting wildlife encounters. They saw deer coming to the river to drink water and even a family of otters playing on the shore. After 2 days of floating, the Era River suddenly widened and flowed into a huge lake, surrounded by a dense forest of firs and pines. The water of the lake was clear, reflecting the blue sky and the green crowns of the trees. It was a place of rare beauty and deep silence. The huge lake where the Era River ended was a true oasis of peace and abundance. Surrounded by a dense forest of firs and pines, this wonderful place hid numerous natural resources and an impressive biodiversity. The crystal-clear water was full of fish and other aquatic creatures, providing a constant source of food and plenty of opportunities for exploration. Fish in the lake, they were of various species, from silver trout and golden carp to catfish and perch. Every morning, Ihan and Alena fished, using traditional fishing rods and nets, and managed to catch enough fish to provide for their daily meals. The lake was also populated by turtles, crayfish, and numerous species of amphibians and aquatic insects, all contributing to the natural balance of the ecosystem. The shores of the lake were a veritable wildlife spectacle. Wild ducks and geese migrated here in search of food and a safe place to nest. On the marshy banks grew rushes and reeds, providing shelter for many species of birds and small animals. With the arrival of spring, frogs croaked incessantly, filling the air with their characteristic sounds. After a few days of floating down the Era River, Ihan and Alena reached the huge lake surrounded by fir and pine forests. The lake is quiet, reflecting the clear sky and green surroundings, creating a dreamy landscape. Look, Alena, this would be the perfect place to set up camp. The land is flat and the view is incredible. Yes, it's wonderful. We can see the whole lake and we are close enough to the forest to have firewood. Exactly. Let's spread the blanket and light a fire. I brought fresh fish for dinner. Sounds perfect. And after that, we can take a bath in the lake. The water looks so clear and refreshing. While Han lights the fire and prepares the fish, Alena arranges the blanket and candles around an open space. The atmosphere becomes more romantic as the sun begins to set. The fish is ready. Come, Alena, let's eat. It looks delicious. Thank you, Ihan. You did a wonderful job. It's the merit of both. We were lucky to find such a beautiful place. After dinner, he sits on the blanket, looking at the starry sky. I have never seen a sky so clear before. The stars seem so close. It's amazing how much the landscape outside the cities can change. Here everything seems so pure and natural. I feel so happy that we are here together. It's like we found a corner of paradise. I feel the same way. You are all I need, Alena. Looking into each other's eyes, the two get closer. Their kisses become more and more passionate, and the atmosphere is filled with love and desire. Ihan, I want to spend this night under the open sky, in your arms. I want that too. Let's enjoy this moment. Under the light of the stars, Alena and Ihan love each other, giving themselves up to the feelings and the nature around them. Every touch, every whisper, and every kiss is full of passion and tenderness. The two wake up embraced, enveloped by the warmth of the rising sun. Smiling, they look into each other's eyes, knowing that they experienced a magical moment together. Good morning, Alena. Last night was perfect. Good morning, Ihan. Yes, it was a night I will never forget. I love you. I love you too. Let's get ready for a new day of adventure. With hearts full of happiness and love, Ihan and Alena prepare for a new day in this corner of heaven, ready to explore and discover the wonders of nature together. At the edge of the lake, Ihan and Alena noticed fresh hoofprints. Curious, they decided to explore the fir and pine forest. Not long after, They discovered a group of wild horses grazing quietly on a green meadow. Alena, who had a special passion for animals, she slowly approached the horses, talking to them calmly and offering them pieces of apple. The horses, initially reluctant, began to approach her, accepting the food and her gentle touch. At in the morning, Ihan was fishing in the lake, and Alena explored the forest, where she picked mushrooms and berries. In the afternoon, they took care of the horses, trying to gradually tame them and gain their trust. Alena began to tame the youngest horses, talking to them gently and feeding them daily. Ihan built a makeshift pen to shelter them at night and protect them from predators. In a short time, they managed to tame a few horses, which became friendly and docile. After the horses accustomed to their presence, Alena and Ihan began to ride them. The wild horses, their manes fluttering in the wind, seemed to enjoy their new life with humans. Riding through the forest and along the lake shore became an activity daily, bringing them much joy and freedom. Ihan and Alena realized that discovering this wonderful place and meeting the wild horses were precious gifts of nature. This new corner of paradise offered them not only resources necessary for survival, but also a deep experience of connecting with nature. They began to make plans for the winter, thinking about how to divide their time between the Jeima cave and the new camp by the lake. They decided to build a shelter, a small hut, and a horse pen. The discovery of the huge lake and the meeting with the wild horses marked a new chapter in the life of Ihan and Alena. This adventure taught them to be flexible, brave, and trust their own strength. Every day spent in the middle of nature, surrounded by the wild beauty of the forests and the lake, brought them inner peace and boundless joy. Return to Jeima Cave. After a week spent in the idyllic landscape of Lake Era, Alena and Ihan decided it was time to return to the Jeima Cave. The longing for their beloved animals and the comfort of the house they had set up prompted them to head back to the place that had become them a real refuge. With the help of the 4 wild horses they had tamed, they tied the raft to go up the Era River. The horses, strong and carefully trained, pulled them to the water's edge, making their return not only possible, but also full of adventure. As they climbed through the forest, nature offered them a magnificent spectacle. The forest of firs and pines was full of life, with the sun's rays penetrating the leaves and creating a play of light and shadow on the water and the land. I missed everything we have at the Jeima Cave. It's beautiful here, but our house has a special place in my heart. I missed it too, our animals, the cave, all the little details that made our life here so special. I'm curious to see how they managed without us. Esme the fox, Remy the fawn, and the Black Panther cub are probably looking forward to us, not to mention the vegetable garden we started. I hope it has held up in our absence. As the raft went up the Era River, they enjoyed every moment spent together, discussing their recent memories and plans for the future. You know, Ihan, this week spent on the lake was like a vacation, but now I feel that we are ready to go back and continue our lives. We learned so much about ourselves and about nature. Yes, it was an unforgettable experience, and who knows, maybe we will come back here someday. But for now, let's focus on our way and what awaits us at home. As they climbed higher and higher on the river, the landscape changing, becoming more and more familiar. The murmur of the river and the rustling of the forest were accompanied by the chirping of birds and the discreet noises of wild animals that continued their quiet lives in the heart of the forest. Look, we are close to the Jeima Cave. I recognize every stone and tree here. It's as if the forest welcomes us home. Yes, I feel the same. This is our home, the place where we started everything and where we will continue our story. With the horses pulling the raft with perseverance, the two finally reached their resting place. The animals welcomed them with joy, and the Jeima Cave seemed to welcome them back with open arms. The Jeima Cave, with the kitchen, the bedroom, and all the other spaces arranged by them, appeared before their eyes as a real sanctuary. Alena and Ihan opened the cork and thanked horses for their help and let them graze freely, hoping they wouldn't go far from their home. Exciting reunion with dear animals. After spending a week on Lake Era, Alena and Ihan returned to the Jeima Cave, missing their beloved animals and the comfort of home. As they approached the cave, their hearts beat faster, looking forward to, they see their speechless friends again. Upon entering the house, an emotional scene awaited them. The Black Panther cub, Esme the fox, and Remy the deer were waiting for them, impatient and full of affection. "Look, Alena. They waited for us with such longing." "Yes, they're so happy to see us. I miss them so much." The panther cub, with bright eyes and shiny black fur, ran towards Alena, rubbing against her legs and making little sounds of joy. "Oh, little one. I missed you too. It's good that you're here, healthy and happy." Esme the fox, with her red fur and bushy tail, jumped into Ihan's arms, wagging her tail excitedly. Ihan stroked her with tenderly, feeling the strong connection they had. "Esme, beautiful. You're as playful as ever. I've missed your energy." Remy the stag, more reserved but graceful, approached Alena, rubbing his muzzle against her hand. Alena stroked his head, feeling the warmth and the animal's condition. "Remy, you are so wonderful. We knew you would wait for us. You are all an essential part of our lives." With their animals by their side, Alena and Ihan entered the Jeima cave, feeling at home again. The cave, with all the carved amenities carefully. It gave them a sense of safety and comfort. Sitting around the fire, they reflected on their recent adventures and planned the days ahead. "It's good to be home again, with our speechless friends. We had beautiful moments at the lake, but here, at the Jeima cave, is our place." "Yes, and with our animals by our side, we are a complete family. I am so happy that we are together again." The animals, as if understanding Alena's words, sat down by the fire, each finding a comfortable place. The panther cub snuggled next to Alena, Esme found her place next to Ihan, and Remy sat quietly, enjoying their presence. "Tomorrow, we'll go check on the vegetable garden and see what else we can do to prepare for winter, but tonight, let's enjoy being home together again." As night fell over the forest on Mount Zayta, the Jeima cave was bathed in a warm light, and the sounds of the forest sounded like a soothing symphony. Alena and Ihan, surrounded by their speechless friends, finally felt complete and happy. "Now we are home. Let's make sure everything is in order and enjoy our comfort. And to spend time with our animals. I miss them so much." With smiles on their faces, Alena and Ihan returned to the cave, feeling more united and happier than ever. Their simple life, but full of love and adventure, continued in a place where their nature and love met harmoniously. The coming of winter. On a late autumn morning, Alena and Ihan were surprised by the first signs of winter in their vegetable garden, located in the valley of Mount Zayta, with the leaves of the trees beginning to take on shades of copper and pale yellow. The two had focused their efforts on harvesting. Alena, with her skillful hands, gathered the rows of carrots, trying to be as fast as possible, while Ihan took care of the tomatoes that were left on the stems, together trying to gather as many fruits and vegetables as possible before the weather to change forever. As the sun showed its rare face through the clouds, the snowflakes began to fall, initially light and thin, then more and more densely and in sharp winds. Alena and Ihan looked at each other, realizing that the weather was against them and that they had to hurry their work. With each passing minute, the snow fell to the ground, covering the green of the garden with a cold white blanket. In the distance, Mount Zayta was beginning to be outlined in a subtle mist, and around them the silence grew stronger with the coming of winter. "Alena, look how everything turns white in just a few hours." "Yes, it's incredible how nature changes so quickly." All the vegetables and fruits were carried with the help of horses to their house. They were unloaded in the pantry. Then they both quickly fell asleep tired after an exhausting day. "Good night, my dear Ihan," said Alena, "and I think tomorrow morning we will have a wonderful view when we wake up." "Sleep well, my dear princess," said Ihan, almost asleep. The next morning brought with it a charming surprise for Ihan and Alena. When they opened their eyes and stepped out onto the plateau in front of their house, they were amazed to see how much snow had fallen during the night. They could admire the plateau in front of their house, transformed into a winter scene as if from a fairy tale. "Alena, look. The whole valley seems covered in snow." "Yes, it's absolutely amazing. I haven't seen so much snow since I was little." Everything looks so beautiful and peaceful. It is. Winter has come upon us with force. Let's go outside to enjoy this wonderful landscape. Ihan and Alena quickly dressed and went outside, stepping carefully on the freshly fallen snow. The sun was shyly rising in the blue sky, casting reflections glistening in the snow. The pond behind their house, usually green and covered with flowers in the summer, now glistened white in the morning light. It's so quiet and soothing here. I love how the snow turns everything into a magical scene. They came back holding hands on the plateau in front of the cave and started a snow fight. Happy and glad that they were ready for the winter period when the temperatures did not drop much below 0 degrees. In these places the winter was mild, but it was still winter. Yes, it's a wonderful sight. You can see far up to the top of Zayta Mountain covered with snow. It's like we're in a different world now. After admiring the winter landscape for a few moments, Alena and Ihan they returned to the house to continue their day. With the fire burning in the stove, they prepared coffee and discussed their plans for the day. What do you think we should do today? We have a lot of fruits and vegetables that we picked yesterday. Maybe we should preserve or cook something good for the winter. I agree. We should take advantage of our fresh harvest and prepare some preserves. That way we will have a healthy supply for the coming months. The first night of winter, a happy tidings. The first night of winter brought unexpected and wonderful news for Alena and Ihan. As they sat by the fire, enjoying the warmth of their home and the stillness of winter falling over Mount Zayta, Alena felt the time was right to share something extraordinary with Ihan. Ihan, I have something important to tell you. What happened, my dear princess? You look so excited. I'm pregnant, and I think we'll have a baby in the first days of summer, if we count from the first night of love we spent on the lake. Ihan was stunned for a moment, and then a wide smile lit up his face. He approached Alena and took her in his arms, happiness and emotion flooding him. Alena, this is the most wonderful news I could have heard. We will have a child. We are so blessed. I can't believe we are going to be parents. I am very happy too, Ihan. I feel that our life here in the Jeima cave is becoming more and more full of magic and love. This child will be the fruit of our love and of this wonderful nature that surrounds us. That night, under the soft light of the fire and covered by the warmth of animal furs, Alena and Ihan discussed their future. They made plans to prepare the Jeima cave for the arrival of the baby, discussing how they would set up a safe and comfortable place for him. We will have to make sure that we have everything we need for the child. We will prepare a special room for him, and we will do our best to give him a beautiful and loving life. Yes, and we will continue to live in harmony with nature, teaching our child to love and respect this wonderful world. As their discussions continued, the snow continued to fall gently outside, covering the valley of Mount Zayta with a brilliant layer of white. Meanwhile, in the Jeima cave, the atmosphere was warm and full of joy. Alena and Ihan knew that their lives would change soon, but they were prepared to face all the challenges with courage and love. With the child in mind, Alena and Ihan snuggled together, feeling the warmth and synchronized heartbeats. There, in their welcoming cave, surrounded by nature and their silent friends, the two felt more united and happier than ever. Do you realize that this child will grow up in the most beautiful and pure nature, learning to love the forest, animals, and everything that surrounds us? Yes, and he will have a childhood full of adventures and discoveries. I am so grateful for everything we have here, Alena, and I am the happiest that I have you by my side. A painful past, Ihan's story. In that quiet afternoon, as the fire crackled in the stove and the light reflected warmly on the walls of the Jeima cave, Ihan continued to open his soul to Alena, revealing painful details about his past. Alena, there are many things I haven't told you yet about my family. My father was a great lawyer, always looking for more money and influence. This brought him into contact with dangerous people. Alena looked at him with full eyes of compassion and curiosity, encouraging him to continue. My mother was a kind and gentle woman who always tried to protect us and give us love, but because of my father's avarice, our whole family was put in danger, finally. Those dangerous people decided to revenge My parents were killed by a group of killers. Alena put her hand on Ihan's hand, squeezing it gently. Ihan, I'm so sorry to hear that. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for you. After the funeral of my parents, I felt that I could no longer stay in that world full of pain and danger. I decided to leave, leaving everything in the care of my sister, Maya. She was stronger and more prepared to face the situation. I had needed a new life, away from all those memories. So you left to find your peace and quiet here, in the valley of Zayta Mountain. It is understandable, Ihan. You are a brave man because you chose to start a new life, even if it was difficult to leave everything behind. Yes, and I am grateful that I found this place. Here I managed to heal myself and find a new meaning in life. And, above all, I found you. You brought light into my world. With a better understanding of Ihan's past, Alena could feel their connection deepening. Together, they discussed their future and how they would prepare the Jeima cave for the arrival of their child. Ihan continued to carve with even more determination, knowing that the room would be a sanctuary for the new life they were bringing into the world. We will do everything we can to create a safe and loving home for our child. We will be the best parents for him, Ihan. That's what we will do, Alena. Together, we will fight for our love, and for the fruit of our love. The first winter night brought with it not only snow and beauty, but also a new clarity and depth in their relationship. While the snow covered the valley of Mount Zayta, in the Jeima cave, a new life and a story of love and hope continued to unfold. Alena's story, a free soul. One quiet morning, while Ihan continued to work on sculpting the room for the child, Alena decided to share her story with him. She looked at him with eyes full of love and decided that it was time to reveal her past to him, to show him who he was before he reached the valley of Mount Zayta. Ihan, I learned so much about you and shared so many beautiful moments together. I think it's time to tell you my story too. Ihan put down the chisel and the hammer, watching her carefully and encouraging her to continue. My father is a famous actor, very rich and influential. My mother was an extremely beautiful and talented woman, a successful writer. Together, they have a famous film company, a real empire in the world of cinema. Ihan was amazed by her revelation, but remained silent, letting Alena continue. I was alone with my parents and, yes, very spoiled. I grew up in a big house, with a housekeeper and nanny, having everything I wanted. I visited almost all the world, traveling to exotic places and meeting famous people. But, despite this luxurious lifestyle, I always felt alone. Ihan grabbed her hand, showing her that he was by her side. Alena, it must have been hard to live like this, despite appearances. Yes, even though I had everything I wanted materially, I didn't have a real connection with anyone. My parents were always busy, and I was in the care of nannies and housekeepers. Until I was 30, I didn't have any serious relationship. I was always surrounded by people, but I never felt like I belonged to anyone or anywhere. And then came the accident. You arrived here, in the valley of Mount Zayta. Thank you for sharing your story with me, Alena. I am sorry that you have experienced so many lonely moments. Yes, the accident was a turning point in my life. Although it was a traumatic experience, it was also the beginning of a new life for me, a life in which I met you, Ihan, here in the wilderness. I finally found a true meaning and connection. I am grateful to you for every moment we spent together. As they shared their stories, Ihan and Alena felt their connection deepen, with a past marked by pain and loneliness. They both found in the Valley Zayta Mountain a place to build a future together, away from the tumultuous world they had left behind. I'm so happy that we found each other. Together, we can face any challenge and enjoy every moment. I am happy too, Alena. Together, we will create a home full of love and happiness for our child. In the middle of the wilderness, they found the peace and connection they had been looking for all their lives. Thus, in the valley of Mount Zayta, where the snow covered the ground and their friendly animals greeted them with joy, Ihan and Alena continued to live their love story, a story that would witness the beginning of a new life. Winter at the mouth of the stove. Days passed one after the other in the Jeima cave, each being a mixture of work, love, and preparations for the future. Ihan and Alena found their rhythm, harmonizing their lives in this oasis of tranquility and wild beauty. Ihan continued to work with dedication to the child's room. Each stroke of the chisel and hammer was an act of love, a promise for the child that was to come into the world. The carved walls were beginning to take on delicate contours, and the small details he added showed how much he wanted to create a special place for their little one. Alena, I want this room to be a sanctuary for our child, a place where he will always feel loved and protected. Inspired by her mother's talent, Alena spent her time writing the book of their love. Each chapter was a testimony to their adventures and deep bond, a gift for future generations. With quill in hand and sheets of paper placed in front of her, she laid down her thoughts and emotions with care and passion. Ihan, our story is so special. I want our little one to know how much we love each other and how important this connection is to us. Despite their creative activities, Ihan and Alena did not neglect the animals and birds around their home. The Black Panther cub, who had grown up in the meantime, had become a skilled hunter, but always returned to the cave to be with his adoptive family. Esme the fox and Remy the fawn were always present, bringing a sense of community and extended family. Our animals are part of our family, Ihan. We have to take care of them and give them everything they need. I agree, Alena. Together, we form a small world full of love and harmony. Ihan, I feel so lucky to have found you. Together, we can face any challenge and enjoy every moment of this wonderful life. I feel lucky too, Alena. You are my light, and together, we will build a place full of love and happiness. With each passing day, the child's room was getting closer to completion, and the book of their love was taking shape as he was putting his thoughts on paper. Together, they were preparing for the arrival of their child, knowing that this new chapter in their lives would be full of love and hope. In this small oasis of peace in the valley of Mount Zayta, Ihan and Alena were building a solid future based on love, respect, and harmony. Each day was a new opportunity to demonstrate their devotion to each other and to prepare their home for the little one that was to come into the world. The coming of summer. One clear morning, Alena entered the child's room, the place that Ihan had carved with so much love and dedication. On the cedar wood floor, Alena carefully arranged the crib carved by Ihan. Every detail of it was simple, but full of warmth and love. Cedar wood, with its fine texture, adds an air of rusticity and naturalness. Ihan, just as you dreamed, the crib looks perfect. It is exactly what we wanted for our little one. Ihan, observing her carefully placing every detail, could not hide his joy. I'm glad you like it, Alena. Every stroke of the chisel was for you and for our child. On the wooden floor, Alena placed animal skins, bringing natural and warm comfort. On the walls, potted rose flowers added a touch of color and freshness, turning the room into a real corner of heaven. I brought flowers from our garden, Ihan. I hope our little one likes it too. In every room, Alena and Ihan had Mogon lamps, made of fine crystals. These lamps were not just lighting objects, but real works of art, which brought a warm and diffused light, creating a fairy tale atmosphere in every corner of the house. Mogon lamps are so special. The crystals seem to dance in the nightlight, creating a magical world. Yes, and they are so practical. In the dark nights, their light brings us comfort and safety. In the summer days, caring for the animals was a pleasant activity for Alena and Ihan. The Black Panther cub, Esme the fox, and Remy the deer were now part of their family. Alena, with her love for nature, he spent hours in their company, feeding them and playing with them. I love spending time with them so much, Ihan. Each animal has its own personality, and it's wonderful to see them grow and develop. Yes, Alena, and they seem to be so happy here. In our Valley Point one quiet evening, while sitting by the fire, Alena and Ihan had a moment of reflection on all the changes in their lives. Ihan, looking at how you sculpted this room and how you brought every detail to life, I feel so lucky to have you by my side. It's like every corner of this house is imbued with your love and care. I feel the same way, Alena. Every day spent with you and our little one is a blessing. I found here, in the valley, everything I wanted. love, tranquility, and peace. In the days that followed, Alena and Ihan continued to prepare for the arrival of the little one. Together, they painted the walls of the room in pastel colors, adding accents of green and blue, inspired by the surrounding nature. Alena brought a basket of dried fruits, which he placed them carefully on a small cedar table. I think that soon, our little one will fall asleep under the light of the Moego lamps, in the room that I decorated with so much love. Yes, and we will be here, by his side, to protect him and love him unconditionally. On a clear summer night, Alena and Ihan sat on the plateau in front of the cave, looking at the stars shining in the sky. The air was filled with the scent of wildflowers and the soothing sounds of the forest. The coming of summer and the time of birth. It was the beginning of summer, and Alena and Ihan were enjoying the gentle rays of the sun on the plateau in front of their cave. On the chairs carved by Ihan from cedar wood, they spent their mornings enjoying the peace and beauty of nature. Everything seemed perfect, with flowers blooming and chirping of birds in the warm summer air. On such an idyllic morning, Alena suddenly felt that the chair she was sitting on was wet. First she thought that Ihan, known for his jokes, was playing a prank. She got up quickly, but in the next moment, a scream of pain escaped her lips. Terrible stomach pains began to grip her, signaling that the moment of birth was imminent. Ihan, help me. I think the baby is coming. Ihan, visibly worried but trying to remain calm, immediately jumped to her aid. He knew he had to act quickly and efficiently. Alena, stay calmed. I'll take you to our rock bathtub. It's the safest place now. Ihan took Alena in his arms, feeling the tension and pain she was going through. He quickly took her to the rock-carved bathtub, where they used to bathe. The warm water, prepared in advance, seemed the ideal place to bring their child into the world. You are strong, Alena. Breathe deeply. I am here with you. Placing her carefully in the water, Ihan tried to calm her down and give her the necessary support. Alena, with tears in her eyes, but also with unwavering determination. She started to feel the contractions getting stronger and stronger. Ihan, I didn't think it would be so intense, but I feel I'm ready. Ihan held her hand, giving her the support and courage she needed. The moment was so close. And the warm water in the tub seemed to offer them a safe and natural place for this extraordinary experience. After a few moments of intense pain and sustained efforts, Alena felt the last strong contraction. With one last effort, their child came into the world. A small but strong cry filled the air, announcing the birth of the new member of the family. Alena, I succeeded. It is here. Our child is here. Tears of joy and relief flowed down the cheeks of Ihan and Alena. They held their little one in their arms, feeling how all their love was now concentrated in this little being. It's perfect, Ihan. We made it together. Tears of joy and relief flowed down the cheeks of Ihan and Alena. They held their little one in their arms, feeling how all their love was now concentrated in this little being. This summer morning, which began with an unexpected surprise, and it turned into the most beautiful day of their lives. Under the clear sky and with nature as a witness, Ihan and Alena gave birth to a boy, marking a new beginning in their journey together. The boy's name was Iranian. After the name of the river Era, he resembled the mother of a rare beauty with blue eyes, but with a dark complexion like his father's. After the birth, Alena and little Iranian were taken to the bed of moss and rose and lotus flowers. Alena fell asleep immediately and Ihan watched over her for hours to make sure that everything is fine. After several hours of waiting, Ihan fell asleep on the chair next to Alena's bed and was woken up by the crying of a child. It was Iranian sucking at his mother's breast. Alena had woken up, but she didn't have the strength to get out of bed, so he asked Ihan to give him a glass of water. Esme the fox and Binks the panther were by the bed, curious to see who made that unheard sound in their house. Little Iranian was introduced by his father to the two speechless friends, who were happy and licked his small and delicate hand. Ihan was very happy to hold little Iranian in his arms. One quiet evening, after they had put little Iranian to bed in his room, Alena and Ihan sat on the plateau in front of their cave. IT was a place where they used to spend their special moments, surrounded by nature and under the starry sky. Iranian is growing so fast. IT seems like yesterday I brought him into the world, and now I see him becoming more and more curious and active every day. Yes, it's incredible how quickly time goes by. Every day with him is a blessing. I love to see him explore and enjoy all the little things around us. Alena, you did a wonderful job with his clothes. Wool suits are perfect for him. They are so practical and comfortable. Thank you, Ihan. I'm glad I could give him something made with my own hands. Besides, crocheting relaxes me and makes me feel more connected to him. Ihan approaches Alena and takes her hand in his, looking at them lovingly. You are an extraordinary mother, Alena. I remember our first night of love, when it was just the two of us. Now, with Iranian, we are a real family. You are a wonderful father too, Ihan. I love to see how you take care of him, how you care about his safety, and how you give him all your love. The fact that you don't go far from the cave to protect him says a lot about how you care about him a lot. Ihan smiles and looks towards the cave, thinking of their little one sleeping peacefully. Iranian is everything I've ever wanted. To see him grow up, to teach him about nature, about life, to protect him, is my greatest joy, and I'm grateful to have you with me in this adventure. We're a team, Ihan, and together we can do anything. I'm so happy to be here in this cave with you and our son. It's everything I've ever dreamed of. The two hug each other tightly, feeling the warmth of their love and the joy of being together. That night, under the clear sky full of stars, Alena and Ihan knew that they had everything they needed: love, family, and a beautiful future with little Iranian. Alena wants another child. Time passed quickly in the valley of Mount Zayta. Summer gave way to winter, and then the cycle repeated itself, bringing with it the changes of the seasons. Iranian grew up seeing with his eyes, becoming stronger and more curious. As the years passed, Alena and Ihan, they saw their son turning into a handsome and intelligent boy. Iranian was now 4 years old and was running around the set playing with fox cubs brought into the world by the fox Esme. On a quiet spring evening, Alena and Ihan were sitting on the plateau in front of the cave, watching the sunset. Iranian was playing nearby, fascinated by the world around him. Ihan, I've been thinking about something for a while now. Iranian is growing up so fast and becoming more and more independent. He's a wonderful child, but I can't help but think about his future. What do you mean, my love? I think that Iranian should not be alone after we are gone. He would need a brother or a sister, someone to share this wonderful life with. I think we should have another child. Ihan, he looked at Alena, surprised but also moved by her words. He had realized that he had had the same thoughts, but had not expressed them until now. You're right, Alena. I thought about it too. Iranian deserves to have someone by his side. A bigger family would bring even more joy to our lives. I agree with you. Let's have another child. Alena smiles and takes Ihan's hand, feeling great relief and joy. I'm glad you feel the same way. I'm ready for this new adventure. I know that together we can do anything and that we will be good parents for another child. Ihan hugs her tightly, feeling the same joy and emotion. They both look at Iranian, who they play carefree, and know that their future will be peaceful and full of love. Winter has come again to the valley of Mount Zayta. Snow has fallen over the forest and mountain, turning the landscape into a fairy tale. On the first night of winter, as the cold gripped the valleys and hills, the Jeima cave was full of warmth and comfort. Ihan and Alena sat together in front of the fireplace that Ihan had masterfully built. The flames danced playfully, casting shadows on the cave walls, creating an intimate and full atmosphere of romance. In a corner of the room, Iranian was sleeping peacefully in his cot, covered with a blanket crocheted by Alena. Ihan, I've been thinking about what we discussed in the last few months. I think now is the right time to conceive a new member of our family. I think the same, Alena. It's time to give Iranian a little brother or a little sister. Let's make our family even more complete. They came closer to each other, letting themselves be enveloped by the warmth of the fireplace and the love they felt for each other. They made love under the soft lights of the fire, united in their desire to bring a new soul into the world. After sharing their moments of passion, they stayed in each other's arms, talking about the future there. You know, Ihan, I was thinking about how lucky we are to have each other, with no other women or men around. Our love is truly eternal. You're right, Alena. In a world where it's just us, our love is pure and unadulterated. Every moment we spend together is special and precious. I'm grateful for everything we have and everything we'll build together. It is such a deep and beautiful feeling. Know that the person next to you is everything to you and that together we can face any challenge. I'm so happy to have you by my side. I'm happy too, Alena. With you and Iranian, I have everything I've ever wanted. I can't wait to welcome a new baby into the world and live these magical moments together. They stayed like this, hugging and dreaming of the future. While outside winter showed its splendor, that night, under the starry sky and under the roof of their cave, Ihan and Alena knew that their love was truly eternal and that together they would create a wonderful family. Full of love and harmony, the months what followed, Alena and Ihan began to prepare for the arrival of a new member in the family. They created a new crib from cedar wood and decorated the baby's room with care. Alena continued to crochet clothes for the baby, and Ihan made sure everything was in order in and around the cave. Iranian was excited at the prospect of having a baby brother or sister. He imagined how he would play and learn everything he knew about nature and life. With each passing day, their family became more united and happier, ready to welcomes a new member with open arms. Un Paradiso in the Zayta Mountain Valley. Years passed, and Ihan and Alena's farm became a true paradise in the valley of Zayta Mountain. As time passed, they expanded their household and added more and more animals, transforming their small farm into a prosperous and full of life. Ihan and Iranian took care of the animals with love, and Iranian was especially delighted with the pen where calves, piglets, chickens, horse foals, lambs from sheep and kids from goats grew. Every day was a new adventure for the boy who was exploring and learning about nature and animal life. Behind the Jeima cave, Ihan and Iranian enlarged the pond, turning it into a perfect habitat for ducks and geese. Now they had chicks and were happily swimming in the water, completing the idyllic landscape of their farm. Every morning, Ihan and Iranian woke up early to take care of the farm's daily chores. Ihan taught Iranian how to feed and care for the animals, and the boy learned enthusiastically, feeling great joy in everything he did. On an early summer morning, as the sun rose and the soft morning light poured over the valley, Ihan and Iranian prepared to begin their day's work. Iranian, we will have a lot of work on the farm today. We have to check on the calves and piglets and make sure the foals and kids are well fed. I can't wait, Father. I love spending time with the animals and learning from you. Our farm is a wonderful place. As they headed to the pens, Iranian couldn't hide his excitement. The playful calves and curious piglets made him laugh and feel happy. You know, son, our farm has grown a lot in recent years. IT takes a lot of work and attention, but it's also a great satisfaction to see how everything prospers. Yes, Father, I like to see how the animals grow and how our life here becomes more and more beautiful. It's like a paradise. After finishing the chores at the pens, Ihan and Iranian went behind the cave to the pond that they grew together. The ducks and geese swam quietly, and their young followed their parents' every move. Look, Iranian, how beautiful our pond is now. We managed to turn it into a wonderful place for ducks and geese. It is full of life and energy. It's wonderful, Dad. I love coming here and watching the birds. I feel that everything here is perfect and that we are very lucky. Their farm had become a real paradise where Iranian was growing up happy and healthy in every corner of the farm. Life was blooming and everything was full of energy and joy. Iranian learned not only about work and responsibility, but also about love, care, and respect for nature and animals. In this little corner of heaven, Ihan, Alena and Iranian lived every day with gratitude and happiness, enjoying the beauty and simplicity of life in the middle of nature. Their farm, surrounded by mountains and forests, was not only their home, but also the symbol of their love and dedication for a harmonious and meaningful life. During the winter, their clothes were made by Alena from animal skins, providing them with warmth and comfort. In the summer, Alena crocheted pants and blouses from spun wool, making sure her family always had something to wear. In preparation for the birth, Ihan redecorated the rock-carved tub where Alena would give birth to the new member of the family. Preparations for birth. On a cool midsummer evening, Ihan and Alena were preparing for the big moment. Iranian, now a big and curious boy, was full of excitement and impatience to see how his little sister was born. Alena, I prepared the rock bath for you. The water is warm and everything is in order. Are you ready? Yes, Ihan, I know everything will be fine. I am so happy that Iranian will have a sister, and I will have a friend like you have, Iranian. That night, under Iranian's curious and excited eyes, Alena brought into the world a baby girl. The whole process took place in the warm water of the carved bathtub, giving Alena the necessary comfort and a deep peace. Iranian, with wide eyes and full of wonder, watched as his little sister came into the world. Watching as the mother, the birth of Iranian was actually prepared by his parents for the moment when he too will be a father. Dad, Mom, she's so beautiful. What shall we call it? We will call her Lay, Iranian, said Alena, because that was my grandmother's name. It is a strong and beautiful name, just like her. After the birth, Alena was tired, but she was beaming with happiness. She was grateful for this wonderful gift and for the fact that their family was becoming more united. Lay was a healthy and beautiful baby, and Iranian was already a protective and loving brother. Alena, you are incredible. Lay looks like you. She has blonde hair and your blue eyes. She is a little princess. We are very lucky. Thank you, Ihan. I am so happy that we have a friend for Iranian. It will be a special bond between them. In the days that followed, their farm was full of joy and merriment. Iranian was eager to help his parents with the new baby and to protect little Lay. Together, Ihan and Alena continued to raise their children in an environment full of love and harmony. Thus, their family grew and strengthened, each member contributing to the happiness and well-being of the others. In the middle of the wilderness. On the plateau in front of the Jeima cave, in the warmth of their home, Ihan, Alena, Iranian, and Lay formed a wonderful family, living in harmony and peace, far from the hustle and bustle of the modern world. Lay's 12th birthday. It was a clear and cheerful morning in the Jeima cave, where Ihan and Alena's family was preparing to celebrate Lay's birthday. The atmosphere was lively and full of laughter, and the inviting aroma of fruit cake filled the air. Lay, come help me prepare the meal, my love, said Alena with a warm smile as she finished preparing a delicious fruit cake. Lay, excited, came running. She was in charge of decorating the cake with whipped cream and blueberry jam, her favorite dessert, with nimble and full hands carefully. Lay started to put the last blueberries and spread the whipped cream made by Alena from cow's milk on the birthday cake. The Jeima cave, which became a real home full of life and warmth, was decorated with garlands of wild flowers, and the table was covered with a tablecloth crocheted by Alena. Around them, the friendly animals, from playful squirrels to baby foxes and their grandmother Esme to the Black Panther cubs, who together with their grandmother Brinks, looked after the farm in the valley of Zayta Mountain, curiously watched the preparations. Happy birthday, our beloved! Ihan, Alena, and Iranian sing, accompanied by the happy sounds of the animals around. Lay, with her eyes shining with joy, was extremely happy. She had turned 12 and felt loved and appreciated by everyone around her. Iranian, her brother older, who was now 17 years old, looked at her with affection. Between them there was a special bond, consisting of affection and brotherly love. Lay, know that you are the best sister in the world. I am so happy that you are part of our lives, he said, hugging her dearly. The Jeima cave was now a true sanctuary of nature, full of animals that lived in harmony with the family. The Black Panther cubs, together with their grandmother, Brinks, defended the farm from any danger. and the squirrels and other small creatures brought extra joy and dynamism. All the wild animals in the Jeima cave were completely domesticated after almost 34 years since the plane crash of Alena's family in the Zayta Valley. Lay, the cake looks wonderful. You are very talented. Now let's enjoy this special day together. The day continued with games, stories, and lots of laughter. The family gathered around the table and enjoyed every moment of the celebration. Alena and Ihan watched with pride as their children grow up and they become wonderful people. Alena, I look at our children and I can't help but think how lucky we are. Life here, far from the world, gave us everything we needed to be happy. You are right, Ihan. We have created our own paradise here, full of love and harmony, and to see how beautiful Iranian and Lay have grown up is a blessing. Dad, Mom, you are the best parents. I want to thank you for everything you have done for us and for giving us this wonderful life. I am so happy today. I love you all. This day is perfect. The fire in Leo's heart. In the Jeima cave, life followed its natural course, and each day brought new challenges and satisfactions for Alena and her family. As the years passed, Alena devoted herself more and more to writing, continuing to document their love story and life in the heart of nature. Lay learned from her mother to make sheets of paper from rotting tree trunks and thin animal skins, but Lay, who was very similar to her mother physically, but also intellectually, added sap from the tree that they called the tree puno. With these sheets, Alena continued to write their book, entitled Ihan and Alena Eternal Loved. As she wrote, Alena shared with Lay their stories and memories, the moments of happiness and the difficult moments they had gone through together. One day, while they were working on the paper, Lay expressed his desire to know more about his mother's family. Mom, I know we are very happy here, but sometimes I wonder about your family. Tell me more about grandfather and grandmother. Who are they and how did they live? Lay, my family has always been a sensitive subject for me. My father is a famous and very rich actor, and my mother was a talented writer. I grew up in a big house with a lot of luxury and attention, but not much affection from my parents. I had housekeepers and nannies who took care of me. Now she must be almost 90 years old. If she's still alive. Lay listened carefully, feeling how an inner fire was burning stronger. He wanted to know that part of his family's history, to understand where he comes from and what it means to be part of that world. Mom, I think we should try to find them. Maybe they want to know about us, about you, about the life you built here. Maybe they too have changed something in their way of seeing things. I understand your desire, Lay. I also sometimes feel that I should tell them what happened to me, but our life here is so different from that over there. We have to think carefully about all the implications. As time went on, Lay's desire to meet her maternal family grew. Alena began to consider the possibility of a reunion with her family, together with Ihan. They discussed what this would mean for their family and for the life they had built in the Jeima cave. As time passed, Lay's desire to know her maternal family grew. Alena began to consider the possibility of a reunion with her family, together with Ihan. They discussed what this would mean for their family and for the life they had built in the Jeima cave. Alena, I know it's important for Lay to know his roots. If you want us to go find your family, I'll support you. All that matters is that we stay together and protect our happiness. Thank you, Ihan. I will write a letter to my parents. I will tell them that I am fine and that I have a wonderful family. We will see how they respond and how we feel afterwards, with her heart full of emotion. Alena used one of the sheets of paper made together with Lay to write the letter. He told about their simple and beautiful life, about the love that united them, and about Lay's desire to meet his grandparents. The road to Alena's parents. Dear parents, I am writing to tell you that I did not die in the plane crash and was saved by my boyfriend. I want to tell you that I am fine and that I have a wonderful family. Ihan is an extraordinary man, and our children, Iranian and Lay. You are the light of our lives. Lay would very much like to meet you, and I hope that one day you will send a reconnaissance plane to the valley of Mount Zayta. On a clear summer morning, Ihan, Alena, and Lay prepared for a long and risky journey through the valley of Zayta. They were all aware of the dangers of the road, But the determination to reach the first village to send a letter to Alena's family motivated them to embark on this adventure. Together with them goes Yeti, a male black panther, a descendant of Binks, who was a hopeful helper and can keep away the wild animals that may appear on the long road to the first human settlement. Their way started from the gate of the farm, where the well-groomed and equipped horses were waiting impatiently. Ihan checked the harnesses and loads again, making sure everything was properly secured for the long journey. The Zayta Valley stretched out before them like an endless canvas of greenery and mountains. The road began on a winding route, surrounded by thick forests of fir and pine. Open fields and swirling rivers greeted them periodically, bringing with them fatigue and hope. The road is strewn with hidden dangers, steep paths, swirling streams that they had to carefully cross, possible encounters with wild animals, and sudden changes in weather. Travelers had to be alert and quickly adapt to any challenge. During the day, they stopped at strategic places to feed their horses and take short rest breaks. These moments gave them the opportunity to admire the natural beauty of the landscape and prepare for the continuation of the journey. On clear nights, they stopped at places safe, setting up temporary camps to protect themselves from the capricious weather. Every day, Ihan, Alena, and Lay carefully remembered Iranian, who stayed at home to take care of the farm and the house. They couldn't communicate with Iranian, and that hurt them very hard, but they hoped they could return in 2 months at most. After 40 days of traveling through the mountain valley Zayta, Ihan, Alena, and Lay finally arrived at a small native village. The village was isolated, but the inhabitants had adapted well to the environment and received supplies and mail with the help of a small seaplane that landed on a nearby lake. The village was small and welcoming. When they arrived, they were greeted by the natives with smiles and curiosity. This isolated place, hidden in the heart of the mountains, it was an oasis of civilization in the middle of the wilderness. Alena and Lay were fascinated by the traditions and customs of the locals, and Ihan wanted to learn as much as possible about their way of life in order to improve their Jeima cave farm. After a few days spent in the village, Ihan decided it was time to return to the farm. He talked to Alena and Lay, explaining that it would be best for them to wait for the seaplane to arrive and go personally to meet their family. It was important that Alena to convey the news to them and explain to them the extraordinary circumstances in which they were living. Ihan sold 2 horses for a very good price. With the money he received, he paid for Alena and Lay's trip home, and with the rest he bought clothes and food for the journey. On the day of departure, Ihan, Alena, and Lay hugged each other with affection. Ihan promised them that he would be safe and that he would return to Iranian, who needed his presence. It was an emotional moment for all, knowing that the journey back would be long and lonely for Ihan, but necessary. Meanwhile, Alena and Lay were anxiously awaiting the arrival of the seaplane. They spent time in the village, learning from the natives and preparing for the journey to civilization. When the plane arrived, Alena and Lay said goodbye to their new friends and boarded, hoping that meeting Alena's family would be a new beginning for all of them. This was the beginning of a new stage in their lives, marked by courage, determination, and hope for a better future. Although they will be separated for a while, their strong bond and eternal love will bring them together again, stronger and more united than ever. Ihan prepared his horse and supplies, making sure he had everything he needed for the return journey. The roads and paths were now familiar to him, but the dangers remained the same. However, the motivation to return to Iranian and continue tending to their farm gave him strength and determination. On the way back, Ihan had the male black panther Yeti as his friend and protector, all the wild animals that appeared in their path all this way through the Zayta Valley were chased away by the black panther. On the way back, Ihan had time to reflect on everything they had been through in the last few years and their future. The thought that Alena and Lay would be able to reunite with their family brought him inner peace. He knew that no matter the obstacles, their love and determination would help them overcome anything challenge. Arriving at the farm after many days of travel, Ihan was greeted with joy by Iranian and the animals that were waiting for him. The farm was safe and Iranian had managed to take care of everything in the absence of his parents. Ihan and Iranian resumed their daily routine, preparing for the coming of winter and eagerly awaiting news from Alena and Lay. Alena's natural remedies. Alena, inspired by the wisdom of her grandmother, who was a pediatrician, turned the Jeima cave into a sanctuary of natural healing. She skillfully used plants and vegetables to treat various ailments, thus protecting the health of the whole family. Here is a presentation of the more important natural remedies used by Alena. Garlic, preventing infections. Garlic was one of the most valuable remedies used by Alena. Due to its antibacterial and antiviral properties, garlic was used to prevent infections and speed up wound healing. Garlic was crushed and applied directly to cuts or bruises to prevent infections. The family regularly consumes raw garlic to strengthen their immune system. Onion, cold remedy. Onions were used in various preparations to treat colds and congestion. Alena prepared a tea of onion, honey, and lemon to soothe coughs and reduce cold symptoms. Cut onions were left in the room to release vapors that they helped unclog the nose. Aloe vera, healing burns and cuts. Aloe vera, with its soothing and healing properties, was used to treat burns and cuts. Aloe vera gel. The gel extracted from aloe vera leaves was applied directly to wounds or minor burns to speed up healing and relieve pain. Calendula, natural antiseptic. The calendula flower was used for its antiseptic and anti-inflammatory properties. Calendula ointment. Alena prepared an ointment from calendula flowers and olive oil, which she applied to superficial wounds to prevent infection and reduce inflammation. Peppermint, soothes headaches and indigestion. Peppermint was another valuable remedy used to relieve headaches and indigestion. Alena prepared a peppermint tea to soothe stomachaches and stimulate digestion. Peppermint essential oil was massaged on the temples to relieve headaches. Chamomile, relaxation and healing. Chamomile was used to calm nerves and treat various minor ailments. Alena prepared a chamomile tea to help relax and soothe stomach aches. Chamomile tea compresses were applied to tired eyes or inflamed. Echinacea, strengthening the immune system. Echinacea was used to stimulate the immune system and prevent colds. Echinacea infusion. Alena was preparing an infusion of echinacea to strengthen immunity and prevent colds. Lavender, soothing and healing wounds. Known for its soothing properties, lavender was used to treat wounds and calm the mind. Lavender oil was applied to superficial wounds to speed healing and prevent infection. Alena added lavender flowers to water bath to relax and soothe irritated skin. Ginger, treatment for pain and inflammation. Ginger was used for its anti-inflammatory and analgesic properties. Alena made a ginger tea to soothe muscle pain and reduce inflammation. Ginger compresses were applied to painful areas to relieve pain. Honey, natural antibiotic. Honey, with its antibacterial properties, was used to treat wounds and cuts. Honey was applied to cuts and wounds to speed healing and prevent infection. The family regularly consumed honey to strengthen their immune system. All these natural remedies, skillfully used by Alena, were due to the wisdom passed on by her grandmother. As a pediatrician, Alena's grandmother had deep knowledge about the healing properties of plants and vegetables, and Alena took and adapted this knowledge to protect and take care of his family in the Jeima cave.